How much is too much, do you think, to spend on retrofitting sprinklers in high-rise flats? Ever since the Grenfell Tower disaster, which you may remember claimed the lives of 72 people, councils across the country have been checking their high-rise blocks to make sure there cannot be a repeat of what happened. Now, in Thurrock, they've got 15 tower blocks. The Thurrock Independence Party says that sprinklers should be fitted in all of them. But they say the council aren't prepared to fit them because they're too expensive. Now, in a moment, well, I was hoping I was going to be able to tell you what Thurrock Council had to say about it, but I haven't heard from them yet. I've been speaking to Councillor Luke Spillman, who is the leader of Thurrock Independence Party.
In the July full council, a motion went to council from myself, and it was voted on unanimously to look into the feasibility of installing sprinkler systems in every tower block in Thurrock, and to consider the extensive body of evidence that was highlighting the risks of not having sprinkler systems in such buildings. And that report was supposed to come to this week's Housing Committee, which I'm the Vice Chair of, and instead of the motion, adhering to the motion that the whole of Chamber, including the administration, had voted for, we had a report which purely said how much it cost and didn't consider any of the evidence that I'd asked to be considered in the motion, and that had been agreed unanimously by council.
What sort of evidence? Because I can see the cost thing, yeah. But what sort of evidence?
There's been lots of reports from the Institute of Architects, from the Fire Commission in London, from the London Assembly that have demonstrated that the need for sprinklers and the case for sprinklers. And what I wanted was for our council to be proactive and not wait for some government report that will take years and years to come through, and to investigate itself whether we felt the need to install sprinklers.
So it wasn't just the cost you were interested in, it was the whole case.
Yeah, indeed. And I was amazed when I got the report, because the report seemed painstakingly to avoid any mention of the effectiveness of sprinklers, the risks of sprinklers. Anything regarding the case for sprinklers was omitted from the report.
Well, let's have a look at the cost, and then we'll get back to the case in a moment if we can. They did investigate the cost of it, as you say, and they came back with a costing of £3.3 million to put them into all of the 15 tower blocks. Now, they say that's too expensive. What's your take?
I think with the state of housing budgets, that may well be the case, that it wouldn't be affordable for this council. But how, as a councillor, how am I meant to lobby central government for funding to install sprinklers in high-rises if our own council won't even provide me with the evidence that I require to take to government and ask for this? So if I was in administration, how can I possibly go to government and ask for extra funding for the installation without taking any evidence to them whatsoever?
Am I right in saying that the council says that they've been told by the fire service that various other measures are in place, fire doors which compartmentalise parts of the block, and these are sufficient to provide safety? The firing, and I don't want to alarm, the purpose of this wasn't to overly alarm residents in the fire service. I don't think that would be very fair. Now, the fire in Chadwell was successfully compartmentalised, and that's because our tower blocks, unlike the ones in Grenfell, their initial safety build hasn't been altered through cladding, through internal works. So our luckily, well, not luckily, and judgment over the years, our tower blocks are not at the same risk of some other tower blocks around the country. Now, the fire brigade locally were happy that the safety mechanisms for the Chadwell fire were enough,
But nowhere in the report does it say that the fire brigade have given an opinion on installing sprinklers and whether or not they would make them safer. So there is to say that the fire brigade have said there is no need to add sprinklers into these blocks is not the case. It's disingenuous. And if the fire brigade locally want to say that, then I'll be happy to be corrected on that.
But from my understanding of it, they're saying, well, they are safe at the moment because of the very things you said, because the build hasn't been altered, because they haven't got cladding. It's a different kettle of fish entirely from Grenfell. So wouldn't sprinklers be an unnecessary expense?
Well, they meet minimum requirements, but I'm not interested in minimum requirements. I'm interested in improving safety to the highest possible place that we can put it, so that I'm comfortable that I'm doing my job as a representative to safeguard every resident in each of those tower blocks. And that was what I was asking for. All I was asking for was a report to demonstrate how much benefit we would get by putting sprinklers in our tower blocks. And that report the council just refused to do that report. And I was in committee, and I've asked for them to come back to the next committee to provide this information. And I don't know what the administration are scared of. I really don't. All I was asking for was a report, as any councillor should do, was a report to see whether we can protect our residents in tower blocks better than we do at the moment. And that should be the basic responsibility, that sort of call, of all councillors.
So, in fact, what action is taken as a result of that report is almost a side issue. What you want right now is a report. Indeed,
and I do not know why the report does everything it can to avoid that. I was really, really, really disappointed.
Well, that's Councillor Luke Spillman, who is leader of Thurrock Independence Party. Now, we did invite Thurrock Council onto the programme this evening to just tell us what's going on. They have declined the opportunity.